Hello, everyone. I am Karen Brady, Educational Consultant at the Patton Harrisburg office, and you are in the session, So what about handwriting of numerals? So today, we're going to be discussing the components of handwriting of numerals in the instructional progression from the acquisition stage to the fluency stage to the generalization stage. So you may be very familiar with the importance of handwriting of letters and words as it pertains to literacy, which is not the focus for today. However, I'm going to be giving a brief overview as to its importance. And you may be wondering, why do we need to teach handwriting? We have so many technological advances in the areas of computer science. So despite advances in computer technology, research supports the argument that today's students still need instruction in handwriting, according to Dr. Virginia Berninger. And according to Dr. Steve Graham, the majority of what kids do is still handwritten. So one can imagine that in the world of mathematics, this is especially true with paper pencil formats. We know that by learning to form letters by hand, it improves the perception of letters and contributes to better reading and spelling. And we also know that automatic letter writing promotes better composing, not only in the amount written, but also for the quality of that writing. So Dr. Virginia Berninger and others, they have explained that writing by hand activates different areas of our brain than when we're keyboarding, and that writing by hand is still an important area of instruction. Research also shows that students who learn from teachers with professional training in handwriting demonstrate more improvements in their handwriting and in transfer to better composing. So professional development for teachers in handwriting instruction is important. Educators can set up their students for academic success by choosing an instructional program for handwriting, providing that professional development for teaching handwriting, and assessing students' development of legible and automatic handwriting. If you're all looking for a quality one-page research brief on handwriting, keyboarding, and spelling, William Van Cleve, and through his partnership with Patton over the years, has created one-page briefs on transcription skills and their importance and utility. And these are really terrific, and they're great for administrators and other educators who are making those decisions about instruction. Those are linked here, as well as an available handout. So there has been much research on handwriting as it pertains to letters and literacy. Just like students who struggle with letter formation, students who struggle with handwriting of numerals must also devote working memory to the act of forming the numbers, which is a lower cognitive skill, leaving them with less working memory to devote to those higher level cognitive tasks such as addition and subtraction, multiplication, and division, leaving them with less working memory to devote to higher level tasks such as word problems and other mathematical tasks. So if a student can't efficiently form numerals, they cannot calculate efficiently. And if they're inconsistent in numeral formation, they're going to be incapable of fluently and effortlessly completing mathematical tasks without laboring over how they form the numerals. And if a child cannot write the numerals automatically, speed of performing those written tasks can be slow, and math assignments just might not be completed. So efficiency of problem solving and working memory may also be compromised on paper pencil tasks because numeral writing is just not automatic. So it's because of this and also results we were finding on timed math assessments that we saw a deficit with fluency of writing numerals in some students. And for these students, it wasn't that students couldn't necessarily do the math on those assessments, but some were getting tripped up on those lower level skills affecting their performance. So therefore, I developed routines for handwriting of numerals to support the acquisition and the fluency of writing numerals that I will be sharing today. Because writing numerals is necessary to write number facts and perform written computations for basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and operations needed to solve math problems, according to Dr. Virginia Berninger, the various strategies for teaching alphabet order should be applied to writing numerals in order and transfer of the skill to math learning. So I have looked to Dr. Virginia Berninger and Dr. Steve Graham for direction on effective handwriting instruction in literacy, and then did the translation to those methods to handwriting of numerals. There isn't a large body of research in the mathematical world on this topic, so I have made this translation using these resources. So numeral writing is one process that affects written calculation in mathematics for our students. It's just one process of many that good mathematicians have. So students also need to be able to orally produce the numbers, store the numbers and do quantitative operations. They need to be able to code written numbers in working memory quickly and accurately, name and write the numerals, and retrieve math facts with accuracy and speed, among other processes. So numeral writing is just one very important component for students to be successful in mathematics. So we know, as literacy folks, handwriting is a complex task. So there's motor systems that are involved. We use our oromotor skills when we are orally producing numbers. Our graphomotor skills are involved with gripping tools to produce the number strokes and for pressing keys when typing on keyboards. Executive and attention systems are involved. Fine motor skills draw on those executive systems, the planning, controlling, and production, motor processes in the different regions of our brain. There's also attention systems that affect our ability to ignore irrelevant information as well as pay attention to important information in writing tasks. We have sensory systems that are involved, multimodal associations from our visual input, our auditory, our sounds of the names of the numerals. We have the kinesthetic touch from using writing tools that help strengthen our recall of numerals for both reading and writing. So success in handwriting can affect positive student image, as well as if students have chronic struggles in writing due to handwriting may result in negative self-concepts and lack of hope for success. And this is true for mathematics and numeral writing as well. So these three processes affect handwriting in the literacy world with writing letters and words, and these processes also impact handwriting of numerals as well. So there are math fact storage and processes and units that support math calculations that are specific to mathematics. However, the working memory components supporting math also draw on the phonological and orthographic loops for numerals, and the same supervisory panel attention for language. And that is according to Virginia Berninger in 2016. So the phonological loop is the loop that perceives, stores, recalls, and mentally manipulates speech sounds, and in mathematics, it is the naming of the numeral and contributes to doing math operations. The orthographic processor is the processor that perceives and stores, recalls, and arranges numbers mentally and symbols. It is the ability to form, store, and access our orthographic representations of numbers. So it impacts how the brain sees the numbers and patterns. If a student would have a weakness here, it might be shown in reversals of numerals in handwriting or difficulty copying from the board. The graphomotor system impacts how we form the numbers. It takes the information, down our neck, down our shoulder, into our arm, gradually ending up at our fingers to show the large numbers of nerves and neurons that must be engaged to put our thoughts on paper. So automatic knowledge of motor movements and the memory or kinesthetic movements are important, and these need to be directly taught. So how do educators effectively teach such an important task of handwriting numerals? The remainder of our time together, we will be using the instructional hierarchy to guide our teaching. So let's take a few moments to review the instructional hierarchy and how it relates to handwriting instruction. So in the acquisition stage, the student has begun to learn how to write numerals correctly, but is not yet accurate or fluent in the skill. So the goal in this phase is to improve accuracy, making sure that students are forming the numbers correctly. So in this stage, teachers actively demonstrate how to form the numbers correctly. They'll use think aloud strategies. They'll be modeling how to write the numbers using wording about formation and directionality. So students will need models of correct numeral formation, and students get feedback about how they are doing, receiving praise and encouragement for their effort and accuracy. We will also touch base today on the fluency stage and the generalization stage today. So in brief, the fluency stage, the student's able to write numerals accurately and legibly, but work slowly. So one can see from this red line that errors in this stage begin to decrease from acquisition to fluency. And in this phase, in the fluency phase, the goal is to increase students' speed of responding. In the generalization stage, the student is accurate and fluent in writing numerals, but doesn't typically use it in different situations and settings. So the goal of this phase is to get the student to use the widest possible range of tasks, settings, and situations to write numerals. So in the acquisition stage, we look to direct explicit instruction in handwriting of numerals by a teacher. With this complex task, there are considerations as students get started with actual handwriting practice. So these include hand preference, accurate pencil grip, paper positioning, and the type of the student paper, considering gross and fine motor development of students. Hand preference refers to the consistent favoring of one hand over the other for a skilled activity. So for many students, this preference is established by kindergarten, but often it may, a preference might be found later. So the patterning for instruction and practice of handwriting requires this consistent, and I think this word consistent is really important, development of the brain muscle memory of the form of each letter. That is the connection between the central peripheral nervous systems underlying the sequential formation of each letter stroke by stroke. So students will want to find the dominant hand and stick to that hand. Continually switching hands may confuse students and the brain, especially when pathways communicating between the left and right sides are not yet fully matured in kindergarten through 4th grade. I would suggest checking out Dr. Regina Berninger's book, for suggestions for determining hand dominance. So we want to find the dominant hand and stick to that hand. You will need a paper and pencil for this next task. I'll give you a few moments to get a paper and pencil out. So I'd like you to use your non-dominant hand, and on that paper, write numerals 0 through 9 with your non-dominant hand until I say stop. Okay, stop. Now, either turn the paper over or use another section of that paper and write the same numerals 0 to 9 with now your dominant hand. Stop. So how many numerals were you able to write, right? Probably more with that dominant hand, and the quality of your formation probably looks a lot better, right? Hand dominance, along with accurate practice and fluency, matters. Pencil grip is also very important to legible handwriting and student success. So the student would have a pencil grip, and the most popular pencil grip is the tripod grip, in which the pencil rests on the first joint of the middle finger, with the thumb and the index finger holding the pencil in place. And you can see that in the picture here. And you might notice that the pencil is held at a 45-degree angle to the page. So the student would use their other hand to hold the page firmly with a relaxed hand, and the pencil point would point towards the shoulder of the writing arm for both left and right-handed students. If a student has an awkward pencil grip, it's more tiring and it could affect the student's numeral formation. Students could experience writer's cramp, not be able to keep up with the rate of their peers, and produce less writing on assignments. This triangular grip is the most popular. Some OTs might use a stenographer's grip as an option. If your student comes with that grip, don't change that. So here's a way to help students with correct pencil grip. Teachers should ensure that students have a light pencil grip with their pencils approximately 1 inch from the point or where the point begins, and with the point towards the body. As the students lift their pencils, they will fall back into the correct writing position and rest that on the first joint to the middle finger. So here are some steps to help with that pencil grip. So you would place the pencil on the desk with the point towards the student and the eraser away from the student. You would pinch with the index finger and the thumb in a pinch position, and then lift the pencil, and then the pencil is now in the right position. Okay, so pencil towards you, lift back, and then the pencil is now in the right position. So we want a pencil grip that's relaxing. Changing a pencil grip is really hard to change, so practice makes permanent. Beginning writing instruction starts with activities that involve gross motor movement, which allows the writer to feel in the shoulder and the arm the movement that's necessary to produce a letter or a number, and improves kinesthetic memory for motor movements. So initial instruction can begin at the chalkboard or a dry erase board, and the teacher can make large patterns for the students to trace and using full arm movements. And then instruction can move to smaller and smaller areas, to unlined paper, then to smaller paper, until eventually you're using primary grade paper. So many teachers start with skywriting and then move to other gross motor fine and fine motor activities. So we use gross motor activities to set the direction and sequence of numeral formation. And we can use sand, finger paint, sticky glue, puff-up glue or puff-up paint to help students feel the movements of the numerals. Otherwise, we may get students in remedial settings who write really huge numerals which are ill-formed, if not unrecognizable. So starting with those gross motor patterns and then gradually going to fine motor movements. So once students are ready, and those who need this can be transitioned to writing on paper in the order on this slide, going from a large formation, you can see this is on a 9x12 piece of paper, then going to smaller opportunities. Here's a 12x18, but it's folded into sections. And then that same 12x18 paper is folded into smaller units for the student to write on. This practice is individualized depending on the student and the degree of scaffolding. You know, some students don't need this level of scaffolding. These are general guidelines for the fine motor for handwriting paper. Some students may need different paper to scaffold this. The size of the spaces between lines is adjusted downward. So here KN1, we have, you know, this kind of paper with the dotted lines. And then it's adjusted downward as the child masters the numeral or the letter forms. So after students' posture, paper position, and pencil grip are monitored, students will benefit from daily direct explicit instruction to handwriting, depending on the stage of where the learner is in. So handwriting in the beginning may take up to 30 minutes daily, and then moving to about 10 minutes once students are reviewing the numerals. The teacher will name the numeral as the teacher models the strokes and uses explicit language to form the numerals using numbered arrows. Teachers will teach numerals 0 through 9 and then having periodic review. So we're going to explore these 4 areas to address the instructional hierarchy of teaching handwriting. In the initial learning of number formation, we have the acquisition stage here, and verbalization of consistent, precise directions for forming each number is helpful. Legible formation of numerals needs to be taught explicitly with many opportunities for modeling and many opportunities for practice. So we're going to start with teaching numerals 0 through 9, and the initial focus should be on numeral formation. The subsequent focus should be on automatic numeral writing, and we'll get to that in this next stage. In acquisition lessons that I will share, the numerals are organized by number stroke, as well as organized by how teachers introduce these numerals in other areas of early mathematics instruction. So the teacher models the formation using numbered arrows and verbal prompts. The students are guided in the formation of the numerals, and then they're monitored with many opportunities for practice. Students are encouraged to identify their best attempt. So here's an example of numerals with numbered arrows that show how to form the numeral in terms of which strokes to make and in what order to make those strokes. You may have a different set of number formations that you use in your school. Generally, numeral formation begins on the top and proceeds downward. So we're going to ask the child to study the model numeral and then use the numbered arrows in the model as a plan for writing the numerals. So we want to be sure to name the numeral as often as possible as these directions are given. The child should compare what he or she wrote with the model, and if the child has difficulty following the numbered arrow cues, you can use a pencil eraser to trace over the model or use a finger. And you'll see that we use a finger in some of the routines that you'll see coming forward. So after we have the acquisition down, we'll move to automatic writing after the children can form each of the 10 numerals. Accuracy comes first, then fluency. So our learners may have deficits in directionality. They may be hardwired with writing letters to begin all letters at the baseline, whether it might be cursive, or with manuscript, they might start all letters at the top. Numerals may not follow the same directionality we use for letter forms. So we need to build that automaticity through repeated repetition of each of the sequences of the strokes for directionality for each numeral. We start that from the very beginning. Some numbers start right to left, others left to right, others go straight down. So in our materials, we introduce numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we go 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I want to explain why we did that. We want to organize the numbers by number stroke and formation. That's important. However, we also considered how numbers are introduced in early numeracy activities, such as number sets and basic computation. So we start with numerals 1 through 5 because of the need to subitize small quantities, and also considered directionality when writing numerals. So that approach is based off of an assumption that early numeracy with quantity instruction is happening at the same time in the school week, that they are intertwined. So we combine number stroke and how we introduce numbers in mathematics instruction with the consideration of how we would introduce handwriting of numerals. So we would introduce 1 through 5, and then 0 through 9. 1 through 5 being strokes that are either straight down and then go right to left, and then 0 through 9 having strokes that go left to right, and then with 7 being an outlier. So there is additional difficulty with fluency of writing numerals in math as compared to writing letters and words with written language, which is left to right. Math may go clockwise, counterclockwise, left to right, or top to bottom, with digits that can be placed in different positions in relation to another. This complicates the task and makes fluency that much more important. So some students will have difficulty with the placement of the numbers, correctly lining the numbers up by place value. So sometimes the use of graph paper can help with the misplacement of numerals. And so again, mathematics has a unique challenge based on the design of how we do calculations with paper and pencil tasks. But first, we need to know the formation of the numbers and be fluent with that in order for us to be successful with a task like this one. You may have handwriting of numerals, a handwriting of numeral program that includes orally stated steps of oral procedures for forming numerals. We encourage you to use that. This helps with the memory of correct numeral formation. Students recall the sequence of movements for a given number better if the instructor teaches the verbalization of consistent, precise directions. There are many handwriting programs that provide student language to use in the initial learning of numbers. If you don't have one, an instructor could consider the following as an option. So here is a sample language that a teacher could use to support the formation of writing numerals and is included as a handout as well. One would use the ordered steps and language provided with an explicit handwriting program of your school. So this is an example of writing the numeral 5 in the context of the hat line, the belt line, and the foot line. So hat line, belt line, foot line. Your handwriting program may call these lines other things, and I would suggest that you would use the language that is consistent in your system. This is just an example. So here's an example of initial instruction for students in the acquisition stage of learning. I would have a large area to demonstrate this number, or have a poster of a 5 to help with this. So I will go through these steps of an acquisition lesson, and then I'm going to be providing you on another slide actual acquisition lesson papers, routines that you can use if you don't already have one. So you would say, we are going to learn a number today. It is the number 5. You write between the hat line and the foot line. You start here, go down to the belt line, next make a curved line back to the grass line. Then pick up your pencil and go to the hat line. End with a line. Now I will show you with arrows what I did. And then we would repeat the script. So you start here, step 1, go down to the belt line. Step 2, you make a curved line back to the grass line. Whoops. And then you pick up your pencil and you go to the hat line. I'm going to do that again since we had that slide change. So you start here, go down to the belt line. Step 2, make a curved line back to the grass line, then pick up your pencil and go to the hat line, end with a line. So then we would trace the number and repeat the same script. Go down to the belt line, curved line back to the grass line, and then pick up your pencil and go to the hat line and end with a line. Then we would skywrite the numbers. So when you skywrite, you want to have a firm arm so you can have that motor movement in the full motor movement in the shoulder and the arm. We want to have that brain to muscle memory that's being developed. I have 2 fingers pointed. If I have 1 finger, it might encourage students to make small movements, and that's not what we want. We want large gross motor movements. So I'm going to model this backwards so that you can see. And when you model for your students, you would model that backwards as well. So we're going to go down to the belt line, curve line back to the grass line, then pick up your pencil and go to the hat line, end with a line. Okay, so big gross movements so that the shoulder and the arm can help with that muscle memory trace. Okay, if you make small movements, that's not going to help with that brain motor connection, as well as something that's got those big, large movements. And noticing that I'm modeling it backwards so that when the students see it or when you see it, it is the correct formation. So after we skywrite the numbers, students will write a line of that number and then circle the one that they like best. Okay, so here I have included acquisition practice sheets for the numerals 0 through 9. And if you are in need of instructional materials, those are linked at the bottom right-hand corner of the slide and are also included as a PDF handout to this session. This acquisition lesson includes scripted teacher guidance on the back of the sheet, and which includes steps that I modeled on the previous slide. You may be, so here when that step is when the students are practicing writing the number, then they're going to write a line of the numbers with the dots, and then they'll write the numbers without the dots. You may be wondering about the 10 frame at the bottom. This is a reminder of the use of the 10 frame to help students with subitization that are being taught in other areas of math instruction. It's not a direct focus here in handwriting instruction. So we want kids to subitize. And when I say subitize, subitize means instantly seeing how many. So subitizing refers to the mind's ability to form stable mental images of patterns and then associate them with a fixed number. In this case, the fixed number is 5. So most preschool children cannot subitize conceptually. Instead, they count one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But by school age, they can learn to subitize conceptually as an early numeracy skill. So we want them to look at those 5 dots and say 5 instantly and know that conceptually that is 5. So again, that's not a focus of handwriting instruction right now, but this graphic here is a way to reinforce that concept. So we're now going to move to teaching to automaticity. It is an important stage as well, so that students can attend to more cognitively demanding tasks, such as written mathematics calculation and math problem solving. Automaticity comes after we acquire correct numeral formation. So in fluency, in this stage right here, the student is able to write numerals accurately, so errors are low, but work slowly. So the goal of this stage is to increase students' speed of responding. The teacher structures learning activities to give students opportunities for active, observable practice. Students have frequent opportunities with direct repetition and practicing of writing numerals. Students get feedback on fluency and accuracy of performance, and students receive praise and encouragement for increased fluency. So I have created fluency routines for handwriting of numerals that fall on a continuum. So we have trace, copy, cover, compare, and it is the most supportive and reviews numeral formation that was already previously taught in acquisition lessons, and it combines fluency of previously reviewed numbers. Ready, Set, Go practices writing numerals as quickly as a student can, right here, and so that's why that's in the fluency stage. And then Treasure Hunt focuses on writing numerals from dictation, and one can see how these may fit on the instructional hierarchy here. Fluency routines can be a 3 to 7 minute warm-up prior to a mathematics lesson. By practicing numeral writing daily, especially at the beginning of each lesson, this moves towards minimal requirements of working memory. So please remember that these fluency routines are not to replace the explicit instruction and modeling that comes prior in acquisition lessons. During these fluency routines, teachers can provide feedback about student performance and also to ensure letter formation and legibility. And then eventually we'll apply this to math computation. So learning activities that require students to hold a letter or a numeral in the mind's eye without looking at it on paper, and then opening the eyes and write the symbol from memory, helps to develop automaticity according to Virginia Berninger. The next routine that I'm going to share with you, called Trace, Copy, Cover, Compare, has students trace the numeral with their finger and pencil, make the numerals with the model, and then cover the model with paper and write the number using the mind's eye to reproduce that number. Trace, copy, cover, compare is a modification of the evidence-based practice cover, copy, compare. So this routine, as well as others, are available as handouts, as well as linked here in this video description. So this link here at the bottom right column is the video that I'm showing you today. In the top left corner of your slide, you may notice that there's another link, and that's a recording of me working with students directly. Cover, copy, compare is effective because it includes key features of effective instruction. There's modeling, high rates of correct responding, and ample practice with corrective feedback. So I'm going to show you trace, copy, cover, compare.
And today I will be modeling a routine for handwriting of numerals. We will use our knowledge of holding numerals in our working memory using our mind's eye in the lessons that promote writing fluency. This numeral writing routine, called Trace, Copy, Cover, Compare, is a modification of the evidence-based practice Cover, Copy, Compare. In this routine, teachers scaffold the students' transition from acquisition of writing numerals to fluency of writing numerals by modeling how to trace and write the numerals. Students trace the numeral with their finger and pencil, make the numerals with the model, and then cover the models and write the numeral using their mind's eye to reproduce the number. Students also practice other numbers that they have been writing in previous handwriting lessons. Please review the recording on Handwriting of Numerals, Acquisition to Fluency for the research, conceptual knowledge, and references behind this routine. Also watch the Numeral Fluency Routine 1 on the Patent YouTube channel. Let's try Trace, Copy, Cover, Compare with the number 5. First, the teacher holds up the tracing card 5 and says, "What is the name of this number?" The student says 5. Watch as I trace the number 5. Now you trace the first two numbers on your warm-up sheet with your finger. Watch as I trace the number 5 again. Now use your pencil to trace the next two 5s. Watch as I write the number 5 again. I start at the dot. Now you write the two number 5s, start at the dot. If a child makes an error, then have the child write the number again. If needed, put your hand over the child's hand and guide him or her to write the number. Then have him or her write the number on his or her own. Repeat as necessary. There is also a model with numbered arrows at the bottom of the page. Next, have the child cover the numbers they wrote, and students write the number twice from memory. They need to hold the number in the mind's eye while writing. The students uncover their numbers and compare. Do your numbers look the same? Circle your best 5. Using a new tracing card for the number 3, watch as I trace the number 3. Now you trace the number 3. Now write 3 with your pencil. Continue with 1, 4, and 2. These numbers have already been practiced in previous lessons. The teacher and students continue with daily practice using this routine or another routine with numerals that students have already acquired as a result of prior direct explicit instruction. Please note that this is not independent seat work, and the teacher is guiding and monitoring the student's process and product along the way. The warm-up sheets for each numeral, 0 through 9, and tracing cards for this routine are available for educators to access in this video description.
So the handouts are the routines that were just modeled was number 5. There's routines for 0 through 9. And those are available not only in the YouTube description that you just saw, but also in the handouts that are provided for the symposium. Another example of an instructional warm-up routine is called Ready, Set, Go. And this fluency building routine is helping students practice writing numerals in an automatic way. So you will notice that this warm-up fluency routine is less scaffolded, much less scaffolded than trace, copy, cover, compare. Ready, Set, Go is after acquisition lessons have been taught and for students who are already accurate. So this is a fluency routine. Let's watch this one. And that is linked here at the bottom right-hand corner for future viewing, as well as on the Patent YouTube channel. So let's watch Ready, Set, Go.
Hello, I am Karen Brady, Educational Consultant at Patent Harrisburg, and today I will be modeling 2 fluency routines for Handwriting of Numerals called Ready, Set, Go and Treasure Hunt. Please review the recording on Handwriting of Numerals, Acquisition to Fluency, for the research, conceptual knowledge, and references behind these routines. Also, please watch the Numeral Fluency Routine 1 and the Trace, Copy, Cover, Compare routine found on the Patent YouTube channel. This fluency building routine, Ready, Set, Go, is helping students practice writing numerals in an automatic way. This routine is not independent seat work, but is scaffolded where the teacher models the formation of the numerals as a review and prepares the activity 1 line at a time. Let's try Ready, Set, Go. The teacher distributes the Ready, Set, Go activity sheet to each student, and the teacher also has a copy of Ready, Set, Go sheet. Tell the children that they are going to write their numbers the best that they can and as quickly as they can. The teacher says, "I'll show you how this activity works." The numbers in the first row are 3, 1, 6, and 9. For warm-up, watch as I trace each of the numbers. Your turn to trace the numbers in the first row on your activity sheet. After I say Ready, Set, Go, I'll write 3, 1, 6, and 9 as best and as quickly as I can on the second row. Watch me try. Ready, Set, Go. Your turn to write 3, 1, 6, and 9 as best as you can and as quickly as you can. Ready, Set, Go. Put your pencils down. The numbers in the next group are 4, 7, and 2. For warm-up, trace each of the numbers. Put your pencil down when you finish the warm-up. Your turn to write 4, 7, and 2 as best and as quickly as you can. Ready, set, go! The numbers in the next group are 8, 0, and 5. For warm-up, trace each of the numbers. Put your pencil down when you finish the warm-up. Your turn to write 8, 0, and 5 as best and as quickly as you can. Ready, set, go! Look over your paper and circle your best numbers. If children write the wrong number or don't remember how to write a number, show them the number card of the correct number. Model the tracing the number and say the number name. This is how I trace 9. Students can practice using this tracing card and practice with the dot. This is Ready, Set, Go.
So for Ready, Set, Go, the teacher script for the routine is on the back of each of the sheets. And they are available on the YouTube description, and the routines are also available in the handouts as well. So the next step is practicing writing numerals from dictation. Number names play an important role in number retrieval from memory. And so students should be asked to write numerals from dictated names without a visual model. So we're going to ask children to write each of the 10 numerals in random numeric order from dictation. So this is an example of an instructional routine that could be used for dictation of written numerals. So multiple forms of treasure hunt, practicing from dictation with different numerals 0 through 9 are available as a handout to this session, and we're going to watch treasure hunt.
Another effective numeral writing routine is treasure hunt, where students are asked to write from dictation. The teacher says a number, and the students are asked to recall the numeral and produce it on paper. Number names play an important role in number retrieval from memory. Ask the child to write each of the numerals in random numeric order from dictation. Again, this is not independent seat work, and the teacher models the first item of the activity and monitors the process and the product and gives student feedback. Let's try treasure hunt. First, distribute a treasure hunt activity sheet to each child. And the teacher also has a teacher sheet. We are going on a treasure hunt. I'm going to tell you the name of a number and you're going to write it. Let's see if we can find the hidden treasure. The first number is 8. Watch as I write the number 8. Now you write the number 8. What is the name of the number you wrote? The student says 8. For the following lines, say the name of the number and have the children write the number. After each number, ask, everyone, what's the name of the number you wrote? 5. What's the name of the number you wrote? The student says 5. 3. What's the name of the number that you wrote? And the students say 3. 2. What's the name of the number you wrote? And the students say 2. You continue with 4, 7, 9, and 0, till you get to the treasure. If children wrote the wrong number or don't remember how to write the number, then show them the number model, tracing the number, and say the number name. Then let children write the number again. So you can model the number 2 with the front of the tracing card, and then you can also have the student start at the dot and model tracing the number as well. This routine can be used again daily with changing the order of the numbers and making sure that all the numerals from 0 through 9 are included in this week's practice. The fluency warming sheets and the number cards for these routines are available for educators to access in this video description. This is Karen Brady from Patton Harrisburg, thanking you for watching this recording.
So thank you for watching those recordings. Unfortunately, I wasn't available to meet with you face-to-face this year, but in this virtual setting, hopefully those videos were helpful in demonstrating on how to use each of the routines. Again, the routine script or scaffold for the teacher is available for each of the routines for future use. So finally, we teach for transfer in the generalization stage. So in the generalization stage, the student is accurate, right? So we have accuracy, and the student is fluent in writing numbers, but does not typically use it in different situations or settings. So the goal of this phase is to have the students use writing numerals in the widest possible range of settings and situations. So teachers give academic tasks that require the student to use handwriting regularly in assignments. Students receive encouragement and praise for using their handwriting of numerals accurately and fluently in their mathematics work. And students get periodic opportunities to review and practice the target skills to ensure maintenance. So to help with generalization, the teacher can ask the child to write the numeral or the numerals that come before and after other numerals. So what number comes before 7? And the student would write 6. What number comes after 7? And ask the student to write that numeral. One can start with digits 0 to 9, and then when the child is ready, ask the student to write multi-place numerals like 27 or 605. So what number comes before or after 27? What number comes before or after 605? This could be incorporated with activities to build strategic counting, as well as asking students to write the numbers that are 2 more than 5, 2 less than 5. What number is, the number is 10 more than 27 or 10 less than 27. So these activities, again, help with strategic counting, the use of 100 charts in future mathematical concepts, but here the focus is for generalization. This writing activity of finding the missing number supports strategic counting as well, and is which is an essential early numeracy skill. This directly supports strategic counting because of the counting on strategy. So if we asked a student to solve the problem 5 plus 3, initially students will add by counting and starting at the very beginning with the number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eventually, we would want a student to be efficient with their strategic counting by adding with starting at 5 and then counting up 6, 7, 8. So if the addition problem was 5 plus 3, we would want them to be able to start with 5 and then count on 6, 7, 8. So this missing number practice scaffolds the ability to count on. In terms of stable order in counting, kids can generally start off with 1 and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when one starts at 6 and begins counting, kids can get lost. Okay, so instead of starting at 1, kids are required to start with 6 and go 6, 7, 8, 9. So this activity also helps with stable order, that counting doesn't always start at 1. These activities support early numeracy concepts as well as the generalization stage of handwriting of numerals. So again, if students cannot efficiently form numbers, form their numerals, they cannot calculate efficiently. If the students are inconsistent in numeral formation, they're going to be incapable of fluently and effortlessly completing math tasks without laboring over how they form the numbers. If a child cannot write numbers automatically, speed of performing written tasks could be very slow. Math assignments might not be completed on time or accurately. And then the efficiency of problem solving and working memory may also be compromised when you're working with paper and pencil, which is very common in math because numeral writing is not automatic. So we want to have instruction that is aligned to the instructional hierarchy, which includes acquisition, and we talked about the acquisition stage with acquisition handwriting lessons, fluency, building up students' speed of responding, and then also generalizing handwriting of numerals to other mathematical tasks to help them become better mathematicians. Here are references for your consideration, and here are resources for further reading. I'd like to recognize and give special thanks to these contributors as these routines and research were being developed. And I especially want to thank you for joining me today, and I really hope that these routines and resources are helpful for your teaching. Please take any remaining time that you would have in this session. We have a few minutes left to download any of the handouts that you would like, and potentially you may have time to look to the scripts that are on the back of each of these routines and potentially practice. If you have any questions about today's content or resources, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on the bottom left of this slide, which is kbrady@patent.net. Thank you, and I wish you all well.